Tiktakers, today we want to tell you about a shipwreck. But not just any shipwreck. We will tell you about the most enigmatic shipwreck in history. Still today, many years later, it isn't known what happened to the SS Ourang Medan, also called the Ghost Ship. On June 27, 1947, the merchant ship City of Baltimore and Silver Star, which were based in the United States, received an SOS signal when they sailed the trade routes between Sumatra and Malaysia, in the Straits of Malacca. The message came after a couple of strange silences and arrived in Morse code. It said, "SOS is scored by Ourang Medan. Afloat. All officers, including the captain, were killed in the cabin and on the bridge. The entire crew is probably dead." That was followed by another awkward silence, and then confused and meaningless signs. At the end, it said, "I'm dying." The Silver Star managed to locate the Ourang Medan freighter, and as it was the closest, it changed its course to get closer. Upon arrival, they deduced that the ship was of Dutch origin, something that was fixed, although no one has been able to verify it. When they were close, they wanted to be noticed by emitting siren sounds and other signals, but no one from the ship responded. In the area, the most absolute of silences reigned, and the ship had the engines completely stopped. For this reason, from the Silver Star, they had no choice but to prepare a rescue team and board the freighter. It was the only way to check that everyone was okay. When the sailors reached the ship, they found a terrifying scene. The entire deck was littered with corpses in strange postures. Many of them had faces of panic, as if the last thing they had seen had killed them. Their gaze was fixed on the ceiling and their eyes were wide. In the middle of all those people, they also found the ship's mascot, a dog, dead. On the bridge was the captain and his officers in the same condition. And they were especially struck by the communication operator, who continued to sit in a chair with his hands on the telegraph. It seemed the last thing he had done was send out that distress signal. They encountered the same scene in the cabins and the boiler room. It seemed that no one was left alive there. And when they went down the cellar, when they reached the last room that they had to review, they noticed something different. The cold down there was extreme. It was 43 degrees outside, but down there it looked like they were at the North Pole. Without finding any explanation, they continued examining the ship, also trying to find an explanation for what happened. And for this, they needed to find the ship's log, a fundamental documentary where everything that happened on board was collected. But it was nowhere to be found, and one of the lifeboats was also missing. The sailors wondered if he had already sailed without a boat from his home port, but it was highly unlikely because the ropes were cut. They didn't find signs of violence. It didn't seem like a fight had happened. It was all very confusing. So, finding no evidence, the captain of the Silver Star decided to tow the freighter to the nearest port. There, he would leave it in the hands of the authorities so that they would be the ones to clarify what happened. But when they got ready to tow it, they observed how dense smoke began to rise from the lower decks of the Ourang Medan. Quickly, the Silver Star released the tethers and drifted away as far as possible. From a distance, they saw as a series of explosions occurred in the next minutes, and then the ship began to burn. Before long, it had completely sunk before the stunned gaze of the crew. After that, there were many investigations and theories about what happened on the ship. However, none of them could be tested. Some said that the freighter was carrying some highly polluting illegal cargo, which would explain the sudden death of the entire crew, and also that the ship didn't have any type of documentation or registration in any country. But this theory didn't convince everyone because they didn't find a reaction on the skin of the deceased. They didn't seem to be contaminated by something external. As there was no explanation, other people attributed the deaths to paranormal events or to the fact that the ship had never existed. After all this time, and with variation in the facts, it seems that the Ourang Medan has become a horror legend. And like almost all legends, it doesn't have a rational explanation. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!